What's going on, guys? Clone Force 23 coming at you after a pretty crazy weekend of some competitive SWU. We probably spent the whole weekend chatting about everything that was going on. I got my boy Alec here to talk about some stuff today. Alec, how you doing?
Yeah, what's going on? What's going on?
What's going on? It's pretty obvious, but we're going to talk about him. You might like him, you might hate him. You probably saw him too many times if you were playing competitively this weekend, but we're talking about Jango Tarkentown.
Yep.
Um, it was it was pretty well known and anticipated that this was going to be quite the problem after set 4 cards got released. Um, I saw some pretty expected but still insane opportunities and combos that came through. But Alec, you've been playing him a little bit more than me, so I'm going to let you chat about that.
Yeah, so again, going into the weekend, which was also kind of crazy that we had maybe 2 weeks of open play before the first sectors in Milan, and then obviously the Botha Network had their big invitational this weekend as well, which isn't obviously a SWU sponsored event, but it's still crazy to think hey, we're 2 weeks into a set and we already have giant competitive events happening. Obviously, we expected a lot of Django, but not as much as what happened in Milan. Um, Milan was pretty disgusting showing of Django,
Oh
but
my gosh, right?
yeah. So for those of you who are paying attention to the channel, the second week of locals, I took a Django Tarkin Town to our local game store and went 4-0 with it. In our weekly, that is posted in the posts if you wanted to see that deck list. But this is actually a updated version of that deck. It's pretty much in line with what a lot of people are playing. You could call this a more balanced list, if you will. This is just, hey, we're jamming a lot of three of the cards that are good, and then we're kind of filling those flex spots. So, gonna get into it here. There are a couple things that I think kind of differ. What I enjoy playing in Django versus a lot of people, being an aggro person, comes from an aggro, deck and play style. I There's one rule that I always need, and I always need to be on 15 turn one plays. Um, a lot of them, I think, from what we've seen, even this weekend, are on 13, which is perfectly fine. I've just had a couple instances come up in PQs where I don't draw turn one on 13 or even 14. So it's that's one of my number one rules is we got to be on 15 turn ones. And then I also like being on 15 events slash upgrades, just the ratio of units to events. You generally want to be playing in an aggro deck a unit more so than an event. So we've got both of those checked in this, and I really like this list. So we've got some new guys to go over. Two of them you should know about already, and if you don't, I don't know what you've been doing this weekend, but that's the War Juggernaut and the IG 2000. These cards are unbelievably crazy. Even the Juggernaut aside, which obviously is the elephant in the room at the moment in the Sue world, but IG alone is very crazy sometimes, and a lot of times people kind of see this as oh, on four you can jam it out, tap something, you get a 3/4. But I'm I know I'm saving my IGs for late game. It's again the War Juggernaut and Ruthless, those are big bodies and spaces to fill, but sometimes just a sneak attack IG can win you a game. You're still tapping down three guys in a space unit. Let's say you don't want to get rid of that War Juggernaut. This card is very versatile. So yeah, I'm a big fan of IG. And then yeah, the War Juggernaut is just, it's just unreal. I know at my locals last week, against one of our friends from the area who's on a mono green set for Vader, and my line into him in both games were like Kylo's tie into Seventh Fleet into Triple Dark Raid, a War Juggernaut, into Sneak Attack, a War Juggernaut. It was just like I just felt gross. Like
That's not okay.
that is a disgusting line of play to take and
Yeah.
deal like half of someone's life with two cards. Um, but yeah, Sneak Attack now going to three. It was kind of teetering on two in the last set, but now it's like absolutely three. But like it might be one of the best cards in the deck behind Dark Raid, enabling just again like on Resource 4 and on Resource 5 you can play these 6 cost bombs and like they enter the ready. Like, okay, cool. There's 2 cards that do that in the deck. Great. So yeah, and then we're getting 2 new turn 1 plays. Zygerian Starhopper, I am okay with. It's kind of like to me in Thrawn, where if you leave it around, like yeah, the 2 indirect damage when it's defeated doesn't seem like that hard to manage, but if you leave it around, that's just more damage you're taking, right? So yeah, he swings in for 2 every turn, and then if he dies, it's just 2 more damage that he's adding to the game. I've opted to be off of Cartel Spacer. I just don't think that card is good for Jango right now. I'd rather have a card that can push damage. And then the other guy, Legion General Pride, is like our dream. We have initiative turn 1 play.
Oh yeah.
He is like unbelievably crazy. You have initiative, you throw him out, they throw out a guy you claim, you swing the base for 2, and then you say, hey, here's 2 more damage. If you target your turn 1 play, I'm going to tap him down with Jango and most likely target down him. Otherwise, you're just taking 4 to base. Yeah, great. That's great.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal.
Pretty brutal. And then a very niche thing that you can do with him, because he reads target a player. So you can attack if you have the initiative, target yourself, and deal indirect damage to one of your units, and then remove an upgrade. You've got a perilous position on your Ruthless Raider? Not anymore. You've got a Frozen Carbonite? Nope, not anymore. Like, okay, let's give Jango that type of
Yeah.
niche interaction that I don't know if I ever saw it come up this weekend, but it is very, very cool that you can do that. So
Yeah.
I'm high on General Pride. He is like the dream turn 1 play for us if you have initiative. He's okay if you don't. You can gain initiative obviously back throughout the game, but just doesn't obviously feel as consistent. And generally, you're going second. You want to be jamming like Crafty Smuggler or Starhopper or something like that. And then the rest of the deck the rest of the main at least is kind of just the good stuff. One call out I would like to say is I was running the Gorilla Soldier over Boba Fett unit, and I had Greedo in the main board, and they both are very bad into the mirror. And Gorilla Soldier is very bad into the ramp decks, specifically Pia Blue, because on 3, if they have initiative and they just throw out a laser tech and you're like, here you go, assign indirect damage to you, it's like, oh, that feels god awful that they get to pop their laser tech for free.
Yeah.
It just gives them really good action economy. And then on top of that, it's a 2/3. So like in the mirror, you throw that guy out, assign the damage, and then they play Boba Fett. They're just going to take it to base and claim, and then Boba's going to kill that Gorilla Soldier and still have 3 health left. So yeah, the Gorilla Soldier I actually did quite like a lot, especially if you have like Pride into Gorilla Soldier. But it's kind of like a win more situation. I know some lists are playing this weekend that did very well. I believe the Milan winner was playing Guerrilla Soldiers and no Boba units. So maybe that is just something where it's like the risk is worth the reward. But 3/5s for 3 are always good. Like they're always um, handy. And the other thing that I do like is Boba Fett with a hotshot blaster or a surprise strike, but that happened already. Boba Fett with a hotshot blaster does take out an exhausted Cad Bane. So the 8 chunk, anything below that, obviously he gets rid of too. But the 8 is a very relevant, way to get
Yeah.
rid of Cad with Boba units attack ability if he is exhausted. And then we're still playing the 3 ISB agents. If you have the opportunity to have that turn 1 target town play against like a Sabine or something, that probably wins you the game. And then on top of that, you have the just late game tap down, especially in like the mirror on 6, if they sneak attack a War Juggernaut, and then you ISB and then you sneak attack your own War Juggernaut, then you have the ready War Juggernaut and you're able to get the damage in. So ISB is just always going to be an inclusion in the deck, but the main board feels solid, feels really reliable. Typical Jango stuff with all our new toys. And then we have some new additions to the sideboard. No Good to Be Dead goes into the board. That's just our aggro, card that comes in. It's been there for a long time. Lurking Ties getting moved to the board. I think a 2 cost or a 2 defense unit, especially in the mirror, would feel like really bad to be playing. So that's just there for control. It obviously does crazy things against control. So that's just what it comes in for. And then we've got Bazine, just the one of Bazine. That's kind of like a flex spot in the side. I do like bringing her in if I'm going second to get something, especially like a deck that is afraid of the turn 1 Tarkin Town. If they like pass into you or Sabine pings into you, then you're like, okay, Bazine, like I'm going to get some hand knowledge, maybe get rid of your turn 1 play. So she's just like a niche thing. But then we do have 2 new guys, which are also very good cards. And that's Commandeer and the Devastator. The Devastator, pretty easy, card to talk about. It's just another big bomb that Jango gets to play. A lot of people on him in the main, and I just don't think it's necessary. If you do want to play it in the main, if you do want to play in the main, just drop Fire Spray. I had all of them at some point. I had 2 Devastators on top of the other 8 big guys that I have right now, and I was just having hands where I'm just like drawing just big ships. And I'm like, I can't do anything with this. So
Sure.
they're fine in the side deck. You bring them in against those later games. They're good in the mirror too. So there is maybe a world where Fire Spray just gets cut from the list, which is crazy to think of because that card is such a good card. But it's, especially in the mirror, it just like doesn't deal damage to anything, and that's kind of what Jango wants to do. So, and then Commandeer, which is like one of the best counter play cards that's printed out of set 4, is coming in against the mirror, coming in against any type of like space aggro, comes in against Piet. You can get some crazy stuff against Piet with Commandeer. That card is like borderline making it the 3 in the side deck because it has a lot of use and can help a lot of games that weren't necessarily going your way tempo wise to steal that back and make some crazy flip of the tempo. You gain the advantage, and then pretty easy to close out from there. So all in all, the list feels rock solid. I'd probably be jamming this for a while, making a little bit of tweaks, but this is probably at least a good baseline for anyone to kind of start with. Like, okay, this is just the good stuff, Jango. Make your tweaks from there.
Yeah, very balanced. It feels like like you were talking with with Boba over Gorilla, it's like this is the is the consistency conversation that always comes up. Like this might be more consistent, which is what you may want to see against other players who may be playing a little more risky, especially with this deck that's out there. People are taking risks to try and find ways around it. So
Yeah,
so
yeah.
knowing your base and sticking to it, I can appreciate that.
Yeah, the only other card that I'm also considering is breaking in. Uh, Sentinels can sometimes be a problem, especially Space Sentinels. And we have the Commandeers, we have Waylays, right? But outside of that, or like a surprise strike pump from one of our space units, outside of that, it's sometimes really hard to deal with Space Sentinels, especially if it's like Piet gets the 7 cost one. I don't know what it's called, Vindicator or something.
Oh, the interdictor.
Yeah, the interdictor. If they like have 2 of them, it's like one of them into the other one. It's like, oh my gosh, I just wasted like a bunch of resources getting through this one, and now there's another one.
Mm-hmm.
Now there are 2 of them. So I think breaking in is one that I would like to test. Uh, in fact, there's a world where I just test breaking in instead of surprise strike because I don't come up very many times where the 3 from surprise strike makes the difference. It's really like I need 1 more damage or something to close out the game. So could see if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it makes pretty clear sense why this is being played a lot right now. We'll have to keep an eye on, the next couple weekends. I think we've got Denver coming up, and I want to say there's another sector at that weekend too. But we'll have to see if it holds up to its. Where did I see somewhere 50% over 50% representation in like top eights out of all of those official and non-official tournaments that happened this weekend. So
Yeah, definitely like a Jango weekend. Even though he didn't just straight up win all of the events, it was definitely the representation was like, okay, it's a Jango weekend. But yeah, we'll see. I think it's not unbeatable, guys. Like I'm telling you,
that's very true.
yeah, like you can beat this deck, and it they are terrified of the mirror. So the
True.
most scared they're going to be of the mirror, so you can catch them off guard and definitely beat Django. Yeah, it's not unbeatable. Definitely, there's strong lines, of course, but yeah, I'll be interested to see what happens next weekend in Denver and just in our couple, month or so here before PQs start happening. So
Yeah, we got some ideas cooking up too to deal with this deck too. So
oh
um,
yeah.
make sure you check out the next ones to see if that'll help you out. But if you like this video, if you like this deck, let us know in the comments. If you have not subscribed to us yet, we would certainly appreciate it. Otherwise, we're looking forward to seeing you in the next one, and we'll say peace out.
Peace.
Space tech, spaceports, TCG, card sports, of course, till my voice goes hoarse. Welcome, decking with the strategy, the energy, it's Clone Force 23.